welcome to Bonfire Conversations. I'm Hamidreza Nikoofar. My guest today is Jonathan Jacques-Belletête, one of the most visionary artists working in video games. He first gained international recognition as the art director of Deus Ex Years back in 2011, a groundbreaking reinvention of the classic franchise, which introduced the now iconic Cyber-Renaissance look and set a new standard for world building in games. He went on to serve as an executive art director on Deus Ex Mankind Divided back in 2016, further expanding the series' visual identity with some described as cyber-noir sensibility. Today, he has taken on an even greater challenge as the creative director, art director, and writer of hellisus, an ambitious and deeply personal game from Rogue Factor that blends myth, politics, and self-discovery against the backdrop of a country torn by civil war. Over the course of this conversation, we talk about Jonathan's journey from Montreal to the global stage, his creative philosophy and influences, the making of Deus Ex and hellisus, and his thoughts on the role of games as both art and social commentary. Before we begin, please consider subscribing to Bonfire Conversations podcast on YouTube and all the major podcast streaming apps if you're enjoying these conversations. Thank you so much. This is my conversation with Jonathan Jacques-Belletête. Dude, I'm so excited to finally talk to you. I recently finished hellisus, and it's such a unique and important game, and I loved it so much. Huge congratulations to you and the team at Rogue Factor.
Thanks.
And we'll come back to it later to discuss it in depth. But I want to take it one step at a time and go back. Go back where you're a kid, to your childhood. Tell me about where you grew up, your dreams of the future, and how your past shaped your art and passion today. I mean, let's look at it psychologically, right?
No, I totally get it. No, it's really interesting. So I was born here in Montreal. I'm a product of this city, 100%. I was born in a neighborhood called Hochelaga, which is like the poorest white neighborhood in the city. Working class, fairly poor, a lot of welfare, people in welfare in that neighborhood. My parents weren't, but we weren't extremely rich, especially at the beginning. Not that they ever became rich, but I mean, we weren't at the beginning. It was much more of a struggle. So pretty rough neighborhood. It's gotten a bit better now. They tried to gentrify it, but it kind of happened and not at the same time. It's still pretty much as messed up as it used to be. But in the 80s, I'm pretty old, I'm 49. So in the 80s, when I was growing up, it was really rough. It was really, there was lots of gangs. And also, the Hells Angels was the Hells Angels and the Rock Machines. So the biggest biker gang war of all time happened in my neighborhood. Of all time, it was between the Hells Angels and the Rock Machines. That gives you an idea. It was something like 160 deaths over like 5 years. Wow. There was a huge. What made it stop? What made the cops really, really get kind of drop heavy on them is when there was a car bombing, right? They jacked the car with a bomb that was supposed. I don't remember if it was the Hells Angels or the Rock Machines who was trying to kill who with that bomb. But when it exploded, a little kid was passing on his bike and then exploded and it killed a little. That was literally a few blocks away from my house. I didn't hear the boom. That's not my point. I don't even know what I was. I don't even know if I was in town or not. But it was literally a few blocks away from my house. So it was pretty. It was an interesting place. Even with that, I had a happy childhood, happy upbringing, really good parents, very present. My mom is very artistic, and she always encouraged, me drawing and reading and all that. So, got into skateboarding and BMXing quite young. That was what we did. And played video games, got into the Nintendo in the mid 80s, and I was completely mesmerized, games like Mega Man and Bionic Commando, Blaster Master, Metroid completely shaped my imagination quite early with that. And that was kind of it, just wasting my time skating and drawing really, as I was growing up. And then went to college. Never did really great in school, but never did bad either. And then went to college. Most of my family as well. That's kind of interesting. My the bigger families, all the cousins and everything, they all live in the country. So even though I was very much a city kid, I was very close to the country as well, right? I would spend a lot of time in the summer and also in the winter when school was off at my cousin's farm and, with the animals and doing all the farm work and stuff like that. And also they had like strawberry fields, like a commercial strawberry field. So working in there as well was kind of cool. And then went to college. I went in art. I went in commercial art, like commercial illustration, right? To learn how to illustrate. That point, video games weren't really a thing that you can go to and work into, right? The industry hadn't really started in Montreal. We're talking about when I started college, it was in 1993. So there was not really any video game companies in Montreal or in Quebec. I think it was Strategy First. I think the Strategy First was like a publisher, and also they had a development studio in Montreal. I think they were doing it's a turn-based strategy. What was it called? It's actually really, really good. But apart from that, it's in 97 that Ubisoft arrived in Montreal. So nothing really going on. So I was just like, hey, I'll be a commercial illustrator. And back then you would do a commercial illustrator would be anything from like movie posters. Like back then movie posters were very often illustrations, like really good airbrush, illustrations or magazine covers, illustrated books for children, or even like back then, catalogs were illustrated sometimes. Like you would get the like the equivalent of Target back then or something. Their catalog would be illustrated. It was cheaper to get them fully illustrated and photographed. It was quite something. So this is what we learned, airbrush and markers and all that kind of stuff, mixed media, painting, acrylic and oil paints and all that. And then I became a freelance illustrator for a few years. Wasn't very good at it because I'm not good at working alone. I'm not good at working by myself. I get very depressed and just very bored and not very productive. And then I got my first chance at video game in 1999. I was hired as a concept artist at a small company that was called Dyad back then, trying to do PC games. And then a company called A2M arrived in Montreal from Quebec City. What a horrible name, A2M. We tried to convince them for years. I was like, do you know what happens if you type A2M in Google? Do you know what comes up, Now they're called Behavior. It's the guys who do...
Got them at Dead by Daylight?
Exactly. But I'm talking about 1999 at that point. They were a great company like back then in this. They still are, but for a while they weren't, and now they became again with Dead by Daylight. But back then we were doing PlayStation 1. I call it the PlayStation 1, but the PlayStation games, the PlayStation. And they had a game called, what was their mascot? I can't remember. And it almost became the mascot of PlayStation before Crash Bandicoot. Right, they were kind of like in the running at that point, and what was it called? Can't remember. Anyway, and so I was there. I learned I was a 2D artist doing like back then. A 2D artist in video games was like you made all the textures, like all the textures were hand drawn, right, pixel by pixel, right. They were tiny little 32 by 32 pixel textures, 64 by 64, 128 by 128, and if you ever did a 512 by 512, there was like one per level, and it was like, my God, this was like the biggest canvas you could work with, and you were so happy. So and then from there became an assistant art director, and then Ubisoft called me to be an art director, and then the rest is history. Really went to Ubisoft, and then everything kicked off from there.
I'm curious that you've mentioned the neighborhood that you grew up.
Yeah.
Do you think the roughness of that neighborhood, the incidents that happening during that time, and your mom teaching giving you a window to another world, basically with a drawing and all that. Do you think that kind of like affected you to use your art form as escapism from that world?
I think it was exactly that. I think it was there was two things. I'm from a huge hockey playing family. Like all my cousins play family. I play family. All my cousins play hockey and all sorts of sports as well. They're huge guys. Like I'm the smallest one of my family. They're absolute units. And even though, you know, I'm not small at all, there's just that they're giants. And that was just more creative. I was just not really interested. I was more interested, like I was always good in individual sports, like you know, fighting sports. That was my thing. Like boxing and judo and all that stuff. I wasn't really interested in hockey because it was too intense, and my family was just hype. People were obsessed with hockey, and I think through art, so that's what I mean with your question. There's two things. So I think that art was also a way for me to say, hey, this whole hockey craze that you guys have, like, I'm not interested. I'm interested in drawing, you know what I mean? And individual sports, but not those team sports. You guys are just too bloody intense, you know, just let me alone. There's enough cousins playing. You don't need me, you know?
Yeah.
So I think drawing was was an escape from that. And also I think it also was an escape from a certain intensity. It's not. I didn't grow up in a war zone, you know. Like it's not that bad, but there was definitely streets that we had to avoid, alleys that we wouldn't go into. People, we knew the kids that if we saw them a block away, would change streets. You know, if we cross paths with them, we could get into a world of hurt. You know, it was definitely stuff like that, but it wasn't. It's not like we lived in fear, you know, not at all. You know, also when you grow up, when you're born there, it's just your reality anyway. So it kind of dampens the effect of it, I guess. But drawing was definitely a way for me to also just kind of be in my bubble, right, and just do my thing. That was also different, and people were interested. Oh my God, this guy can draw! And also, it kind of created that around me as well. You know.
Yeah. All right. Now after that, the first big, as we say, first break you had was a Deus Ex Revolution as the art director.
Yes.
The big thing.
Yeah.
And I remember when Human Revolution came out, I was 20 years old, and it was truly revolutionary. I actually had Jean-François Dugas, the director of that game, on the podcast, and told him the same thing.
You had him on your podcast.
Yeah, many years ago. I think it was back when Guardians of the Galaxy was released. Yeah,
great friend of mine.
Looking back, the cyberpunk genre wasn't as popular as it is today back then. Since the original Blade Runner, the visual Bible for cyberpunk words had pretty much stayed the same. And that, and of course, the word described in Neuromancer. But when Human Revolution came out, from the very first trailer, everyone was amazed by this new vision of the future, a blend of high-tech low-life with Renaissance-inspired art and brutalist structures. And that gave birth to the term Cyber-Renaissance. Yeah. And it was also rooted in a real contemporary technology and how it projected a future we could almost believe in and almost like touch.
Almost.
And I think... back then, I think the look of that game established something entirely new and that later films and games were inspired by. Yeah. And I'm very curious about your creative process back then. And you hadn't worked on many games like Deus Ex before. Many years have passed since. So I'd love for you to take an objective look from your 2025 perspective and how that artist inside you came up with something so golden and not to the color palette of the game.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah, a lot of hard work, really. No, it's. I think it's this. I think it's this obsession with trying not to just repeat or copy things. Like it's you have to take things that have been done before. You have to get inspired by them, and you have to repeat them in a way so people can have things to latch on, to recognize, not to be completely lost in something that's 100% new. But knowing that, I'm obsessed with this thing of always finding something that's unique, that's really gonna, like I like to say, break expectations, right? People always have expectations of what something has to be, what something must be, like cyberpunk. And I think whenever something truly resonates with people is when you give them what they were expecting, but at the same time you bring a curveball into it. And if it works, because it's not because you just try to put a curveball that it's automatically going to work. It has to be the proper curveball. You know what I mean? Like the idea has to be efficient. I think if you do that is when you truly capture people's imaginations, like people's kind of the ways that people process information in their brains and how things really kind of settle inside your brain and become a thing that you'll think about, not just a thing that just, oh, I saw it, it's in my brain because I saw it, I know that it exists. Like that's, I think a lot of the information we process is like that, you know, like we process probably billions of information a day, and it's like, all right, you know, I know what that is, it's in my brain, cool. When it's something that surprises you, when it's something that you don't fully understand, like you've seen parts of it before, but as far as that you've never seen that juxtaposition together, your brain doesn't really know what to do with it exactly because it's never seen it. And because of that, it puts it in places inside your brain where it stays, it lingers there, and you think about it. It's really how it works. So I've always been obsessed with this concept. So always trying to find these curveballs. And that was the idea of bringing the Renaissance in Deus Ex. It was that curveball, and it worked in a sense that it made sense, right? It's you know, back then I would explain the whole thought process behind it, but that's, you know, we were bringing back a franchise, right? We were trying to make a renaissance of a franchise. The Renaissance was a period of finding all sorts of things about the human body and how the human functions and all that kind of stuff. And cyberpunk is kind of like mechanical augmentations are kind of like the next, also kind of the next step after that. So, and I was like, okay, cool. It works on paper. Now, how about I mix the aesthetics together, right? And people were like, "Holy shit, that's insane. That's not going to work." You know, like some people in the team were really pissed off at first because they were like, "Hey, man, you hired us to do cool cyberpunk and now designs, and now you're asking us to mix it with all these stupid Renaissance costumes, aesthetics." And I was like, "I'm sure it can work. Let's tinker. Let's do it. Let's try." And eventually, it really did. And then that's when I coined the term Cyber-Renaissance, and it became, it seems to have become an actual term now that people use, you know? When back then it was just very naive. It was just like, okay, well, cyberpunk, we're using the Renaissance aesthetic. Let's make a hyphenated name out of it. And also it worked. Like I said, we're trying to rebirth Deus Ex. So yeah, that's really how it came. And then the black and gold from you know, the paintings of the era and all sorts of things like that. And you know, one thing led to another, and it created that whole zeitgeist.
Wow, yeah. I went to Italy, and in Venice, I went to the workshop of Da Vinci, where he was all of his and it was a perfect time of day because the light was like coming through small windows there. And there was the place was all golden, and all inventions were all around. And I was looking at it. It was like, you can tweak this, augment this, and this is Deus Ex. You can change the wood with metal, and this is Deus Ex.
There you go.
Yeah. And actually, I've been I started replaying the game, the first one, Human Revolution, last week.
Wow.
Kind of get the idea how it. And now this is crazy. So before going to play the game, I was like, all right, let's boot this up with some mods, right? So let's just install some mods and see how it looks. And I went there, like all these reshade mods. The textures are 4K and I don't know, ray tracing and all that crazy stuff. And I was looking at the videos and the pictures and before after. And I was like, dude, am I crazy, or the the original one looks so much better. I mean, all right, I understand. This is so shiny. Everything is so fucking shiny here, and it's like but it's look like a very generic 2025 first-person game coming out now. And I was like, I don't want to play this. The first one, and I started playing the first one, and this is amazing. Like, you understand. I mean, look at the facial animations and all the textures and all the lighting. You've seen some better, high advanced things. But when you look at it, like, I love this more. This is like I can like look at it.
It probably has a bit more soul. That's the thing. Like tech for tech for the sake of tech doesn't really bring any soul. Like it brings bells and whistles, right? You're like, oh my god, like the ray tracing and all these things, right? But the problem with these things is they have a shelf life, because in 5 years, you know, if you just look at tech for the sake of tech, in 5 years that tech will look like nothing, right? So that's why we always try to look, you know, beyond that. You need it, doesn't mean that you don't need it, but our work should be able to live by its original statement. You know, now I don't know if we've achieved it back then, but that was the idea a bit, right? And of course it looks dated. I mean, and even when it came out, it wasn't at the peak of the Xbox 360, the Xbox 360's capabilities, or compared to other games or other engines, right? Because our engine had certain limitations, and but it had a soul. It had artistically, it had something to say that was not connected to just technology, to rendering technologies and stuff like that, right?
Yeah, and I was curious that. Yeah, we see all these remasters and remakes these days. Are there any, because some of them you look at it like, I understand this is like a higher frame rate, this looks, the texture is updated, but are there any art directors on these games, or are just tech heads just tweaking stuff up like more?
That's an interesting question. I have no idea. My guess is, knowing how the industry works, there's art directors for sure. Now how do they approach it, and what's their role, or what's their responsibilities exactly? I couldn't tell you. I've never really spoken to anyone on these big remakes, you know, like Silent Hills or Resident Evil or Metal Gear Solid 3. I guess it also depends. Like I said, I'm imagining how these things work. I mean, they're educated guess, because obviously I know how games are made and how the industry works. I guess it depends also on the type of remaster. Like, for example, if you look at this, let's say the Silent Hill 2 remaster, it's more than a remaster. It's also a bit of a reimagining in certain parts and things like that. Yeah. If you look at the Metal Gear Solid 3 one, which I haven't played, but I play the shit out of the original one. It's one of my best games of all time. It's probably my favorite Metal Gear Solid, even though the second one, I think, had a bigger impact on me at the time. But Metal Gear Solid 3 is a better game than Metal Gear Solid 2. But what I'm getting at is, it seems to me that Metal Gear Delta is almost just a nut resing. Almost, you know what I mean? It's I'm sure there's little things they added, like obviously the monkey ball monkeys. I mean, you had the little frogs that you could shoot in the Metal Gear Solid 3. Was there the monkey ball monkeys though? Were there in the original one?
That's the only Metal Gear I haven't played.
Yeah, because the little frogs were there, and I remember hunting them. But anyway, my point is, I'm sure they've added a few things. Yeah. But it seems to me, if you compare that one to the Resident Evil and especially the Silent Hill, it seems to be just an up-resing, and I find that a bit. I haven't played it. I'm not going to play it. I'm not interested, because it really looks. It's funny, like some of the models, because it's a stealth game, so the level design has to remain the same for the stealth to properly work. It worked well back then. So it was really boxy. And then you see these really boxy things with high-res textures, and it just looks wrong to me. I just you know, I just don't like it, the way they did it. But yeah, for sure they were. There's an art director and there's always an art director in a project. But you're right, these things are mostly tech oriented when you just up-res like that in a way. tech is very, very, very important, I'm sure.
Yeah. Now, let's move on to Mankind Divided. You faced a very difficult task, continuing your revolutionary art style, yet you didn't repeat yourself. You branched out to something new, which some have called Cyber-Noir.
Yeah.
It's just crazy that every game, art style of every entry has a kind of like theme to it. I want to look at Jonathan after Human Revolution. What was going through your head at that time, and what worldview and influences shaped the artist and the art that came next?
Okay, so that was a very special time at that point at IDOS. What was going on and the vibe and how things were managed had changed tremendously. Okay. And that's important because that plays a big role in what happened with Mankind Divided and how it turned out that way and everything. At that point, most of the heads, most of the core team, the directors of Human Revolution, we had moved on to another project, and we were executives. At that point, we were the executives of what was called the Deus Ex universe. Okay, so the idea was like all sorts of projects could be started in the universe, other games, books, TV shows, you name it, right? And we were the executives making sure that everything was on brand, right? So one day I would be reviewing comic book art, making sure that it was on brand with the art of the essence of the art of Deus Ex, our Deus Ex, and Mary tomorrow would be reviewing the script for that thing, and it would meet people for TV shows, blah blah, you name it, or the iPad game that we did back then, the Deus Ex. What was it?
Go? Deus Ex Go? Was it
no.
Deus Ex Go?
Deus Ex Go was made by Square Enix Montreal, which is amazing. We all obviously overviewed that one as the executive of the brand, but no, there was a full-fledged first-person Deus Ex on the iPad. It was absolutely insane.
Missing Link was the DLC.
The DLC, but I can't remember what anyway, so back then, at that point, we were actually working on Final Fantasy 15 in Montreal.
Wow.
Me, JF, Mary, and it's not a secret anymore. There's years ago there was a whole thing on YouTube. There's this journalist who did this insane. We still don't know who spilled the beans because back then it was still a huge secret. We had never told anyone about that outside of IDOS. But if you look on YouTube, you're gonna find it's probably 8-9 years old, that thing now. But there's a guy who did like two YouTube essays of like an hour each or something. It's insane. There's even cartoons of us in it, and he explains he knows that we had our trip to Tokyo. It's somebody from the team met with this guy or sent him everything. It's pretty crazy. So it's not a secret anymore. But we were trying to do Final Fantasy 15 in Montreal. Like Square Enix was at that point fine with it. They wanted to see what a Western studio could do with it. So all this to say that Deus Ex Mankind Divided had been started by a different core team, right? A lot of the people on the team were the same, but the core team, the art director, the writer, the game director, blah, 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 they were new people. They were different people. It wasn't Jeff. It wasn't me. It wasn't Mary. We were overseeing their work, right?
Yeah.
Being the executive of the franchise, making sure that everything was fine. Eventually, what happened, long story short, it wasn't going well at all. It was fairly badly managed for all sorts of reasons. The game was going nowhere or in too many directions, right? Which is kind of saying the same thing. And they asked us to come back down in the trenches and fix it, literally, So Mary became the real writer. Jeff became the real game director. I came down to make sure that the art was more on point and all that kind of stuff. So we spent months just reviewing the game, giving it a proper direction, and kind of fix it in a way. So that's the behind the curtain story. It was a very peculiar time, honestly, at IDOS. And then, but the art style the idea was that because there was this thing about the old and the new and Deus Ex, and there was the old was represented more by the medieval aesthetics, and the new was more by the Renaissance aesthetics. So because in Mankind Divided, they're starting to be against mechanical augmentations, right? Because we needed to slowly get into the story of the original Deus Ex, which is mechanical augmentations, or it's now all nano augmentations, right? Nano machines and everything, right? So we needed to slowly slide towards that story. So in Mankind Divided, we started the arc that mechanical augmentations are badly seen, to make it simple. So that's why the more brutalistic art direction is more present, because that represents the medieval coming back and crushing the Renaissance. Wow. Because the Renaissance represented the mechanical, the bodily modification, body modifications and all that stuff. So that's why the art direction became more stark, less frivolous, less, much more like angular and more squarish to represent brutalists, which then represents medieval fortifications and castles and all that. So that's the juxtapositions that we tried to do in Mankind Divided. And honestly, and as well, obviously, all the stuff that the other kind of things that we had put together in Human Revolution were made much, much better in Mankind Divided. Like this idea of having clutter everywhere, right? Like having things everywhere, and having also these artsy thing in the streets, right? I like what they did in Mankind Divided. There's a part of the street where I think there's a pharmacy, and you see all these pills, these giant pills that are like a sculpture that makes like an arch in the middle of the street, and all these things were really, really well made. These are things that we had started in Human Revolution, but were made tenfold in Mankind Divided, right? So that gives you a bit of the background of how this game started and was made, and also how, to go back to your question, how the art was thought out because of this medieval versus Renaissance and all that stuff.
How do you research about these elements, like the brutalist back then, and how tech works, how the politics work, and how would they affect your work? How did you research those things back then? Yeah, well, I mean, we live in the best era for research and information, really, right? Like anyone today who would tell me, man, I don't know how to learn about something, or I mean, not a proper learning method. Okay, but let me restart. I don't know how to find information. I don't know how to find something about a specific subjects. I'm just like, well, if there's something you don't understand, you know what I mean? Like even more so today than back then. But I mean, you want to learn about something, you start with whatever you find on the internet. Start with Wikipedia, and eventually you'll have 48 tabs open. You go down the rabbit hole, go, and even if a link or if a concept seems to be a little detached from what you thought the subject was, go see it anyway. It might inspire you, and then go to books, go to Amazon, look at all the books that cater to that subject, and order them all, and just make mind maps and grow them in notebooks and whatever. Visually speaking, it's the same thing. I mean, nowadays, back with Human Revolution, we had a ginormous library of books, let's say, for the Renaissance and the architecture, right? Literally all books I had paid with my own money because I wanted to keep them after the project, right? Because if I would have billed them through IDOS, then they would have belonged to IDOS. It was pretty funny, actually, because it's literally like I had like a huge shelf next to my desk with all these books, and people would come take them, and every once in a while I'd go back to bring them back. It was almost like they would borrow them from the library, right? Because I didn't want anybody to lose them, because I wanted to bring them back home after the project. My point is, back then was a bit harder to find. Obviously, we're in 2007, 2008 at the beginning.
yeah, the internet already had plenty of images and references, but still not as much as today. So books were still very much important. If you start a project today, visually speaking, yeah, there's still amazing books, but honestly, it's all on the, with Pinterest today and all these things, and it's, you should be able to find everything on the internet. But yet again, there's still books that are worth it. But 20 years ago, we still needed a lot of books, But anyway, if you can't research a subject nowadays, there's something you're doing wrong, man. It's all there. It's all, you can reach PhD level information in a couple months. And I'm talking through my ass, and what the hell do I know about a PhD? But you know what I mean? It's just, if you focus and if you're really, you got the energy, I mean, it's all there. And just connect the dots. That's what's important.
Yeah.
The information is one thing, but connect the dots, bring it to other subjects that you wouldn't think to juxtapose with them. And that's how you'll get really crazy ideas.
Yeah. But you know what's scary? That connecting the dots is where
that's when you become crazy. Yeah.
But if you use AI nowadays, because people just go ask the question and get the answer and get the fuck out of there. But the research is gone now. Like, all right, because sometimes you study something, you're researching about something, and you discover something not relevant to that topic, but you kind of like connect the dots, and you're like, oh my god, they're like, get her. And for example, mixing up Renaissance with cyberpunk.
Yeah.
That's crazy, huh? Back then, the AI wouldn't give you that.
Connecting that's exactly okay. So that's exactly what creativity is. Dot connecting.
Yeah,
creativity
exactly.
is dot. Like
exactly.
Everything is there. Everything is there, floating in front of you, literally.
Yeah.
Like all the atoms of the universe are there.
Yeah.
You can configure them any way you want, right? And trillions and trillions and trillions of configurations, right? It's up to you to decide how you're gonna put them together, all these atoms.
Yeah.
And that's what creativity is all about. It's not about like, often people see creativity with like the actual medium, like painting or drawing and all that stuff. But that's an output of creativity, right? That's more the technical part. That's another subject, which is also very important, extremely important. But creativity itself is very abstract, and it's how you're able to process information and have and you're focusing on the main subject, but you're kind of able to see the same patterns and other stuff that wouldn't be connected, but then you're like, oh my god, there's similarities, and you bring them closer and closer to the point where you start merging them, and you see all these connections, and that's when you connect weird dots together and you form a new flavor. It's really what it is. And I guess AI can be a tool in that, definitely. Like, just visually speaking, and I'm not defending or I'm not condoning at all the use of AI to create actual art or whatever. But one thing that it's doing way better, or that at least I find it's doing way better than humans in terms of art, it's that juxtaposition. It's like, you tell Mid-Journey, right? Make a mecha, make a robot with let's say apples. It's made out of apples and my glasses. It's going to merge them together in a way that no human beings would have thought and would have been able to do it. It's actually going to look absolutely insane, Yeah. And it is a form of dot connections. It is a form of merging and juxtapositions, right? And AI seems to be absolutely batshit crazy at doing that. But I'm just using it as an example. I'm not saying that it's we should. But anyway, I guess in research it is a tool in getting down a rabbit hole, right? But the whole vibe thing, using AI to just say, hey, create me something, and then you want it to do the whole work for you. I mean, I'm pretty sure it's fucking useless for that,
Yeah. Right. Now let's talk about your new game, hellisus. Now, this time you're not only the art director, but also the creative and writer. The first time I heard about the game, I was fascinated by the whole package. I thought, damn, who's the art director behind this? It's so fucking unique. And then I looked it up and saw one of my favorite artists ever was back with a new game, and I was hooked. But I stayed away from the trailers so I could experience it fresh. And
oh
boy, I was right.
Okay,
yeah,
cool.
It was so fucking badass doing it that way. And as I was playing it, it connected with some very strong and strangely personal themes. I told you before I had experienced war firsthand, but I never explained how. I'm from Iran, and just
You're
3
from
months
Iran?
ago,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's like the third time it's happened during a live. I have like this cheap
Oh my
IKEA
God.
chair, which I totally need to change. It's totally breaking my back. And then, the clamp to keep it straight. Every once in a while, it declamps by itself. Sometimes it does it, and my camera falls when it does it, and everything.
Oh my God! No, that's great. The framing is perfect now.
I need to change it. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So you're from Iran.
Yeah. I'm just 3 months ago, 12-day war broke between Iran and Israel, and a day before it started, despite the looming shadow of conflict, I would have said it would never happen to me. But when it did, it changed me forever.
You live in Iran?
Yeah. I was, the bombs were everywhere around me. So I wish this upon no one.
No kidding.
But after such horror, your perspective shifts. You see the world and people differently. And even playing a game like hellisus is subtly different. And I understood the message of that game. How responsibly and maturely it tells a story. It inspired by real world struggles, a place torn apart by civil war where people fight each other over ideology. And then when a bigger threat appears in front of, as a form of strange creatures, you might expect people to like unite against a common enemy, but they don't. And as you go deeper, you realize the enemy is more like a mirror to their own reality. Somehow like the fantasy is more honest. Yeah, the fantasy is more honest than the people themselves. So what really put a smile on my face was the journey of self-discovery through literally doing good deeds in this hellish place. That is beautiful. The game insists on unity through goodness rather than unity through hating a common enemy.
Yeah.
Right? And a very Orwellian way of looking at the world that we have today. Now look at the last week we had. we were supposed to have this conversation last week, and within a week, the fucking world has gone crazy. Now,
every week it's going a bit more crazy.
Yeah, difficulty level is going upper. I just really want to thank you for not being afraid to show the horrible realities of today, while also offering a very hopeful and beautiful message behind this. I mean, during my sleepless nights of bombs falling everywhere, I saw something many movies and games ignore, and that is the kindness of people show one another during shared trauma. I was surprised by that, and it's in our nature. And honestly, I'm tired of these revenge-driven stories, hopeless futures we have in games and movies always. But you and your team offered something different, and just as you always have. I just want to thank you on making this beautiful. I mean, when I see that, like, oh my fucking, I understand doing good deeds, and you're really connecting everything together, and you're not shying away from horrors of war. No, but you inspire people.
Well, wow. I mean, thanks so much. Yeah. Don't know what to say. It's what you described there. It's exactly why we do these. I'm sure why most people do games to begin with. No matter what the game is, they want people to react the way that you just did to their game. But this one is we're trying to have people react more than just to if the game is fun to play or not, right? You know what I mean? Like somebody could react the way you just did about a Mario game, but they would be reacting just to the absolute fun of the game, right? You're reacting much more than just the fun of the game, right? And that's what we were trying to do. And yes, the good deeds. So first of all, we wanted to make sure that it wasn't a story about saving the world or saving the country from the Civil War. That makes absolutely no sense. There's no such thing as one person saving a country from civil war in real life, right? These things only happen in Hollywood movies or in video games, right? But not in ours, right? So we want to make sure that there's nothing that Remy or the players can do about the Civil War itself. But we wanted to make sure that he could alleviate people's tragedy and people's pain and stuff like that, right? And also to show that yes, people can help each other, right? But at the same time, it's a civil war. It's not a state war, what some people would call professional war, when professional armies. It's a weird term, but it is. It sounds weird when you say, but it still is what it is. These people is their jobs, whatever. And national armies in real wars always commit atrocious crimes, but not to the degree of regular people hacking at each other with machetes and handguns and everything in a civil war. The level of atrocities is not the same. The level of emotions and passions in a civil war is usually tenfold from when two professional armies are attacking each other. But so we wanted to show that people can help each other, and we've read. Honestly, I there are some books on civil war or on specific conflicts that we haven't read, but maybe not that many anymore. Like we've read so much, and we spoke to a few people that have lived through these things. And what I'm trying to say is, yes, we have testimonies either from real people or from books of people that help each other, right, in these conflicts, who come together, even people that are from the opposite sides, right? Yeah. But also the horrors are still there, right? And sometimes people help each other without knowing that they're helping necessarily their adversary. Or for example, like the good deed with the baby, the Sabinian baby, who's starving, right, with the old woman under Jova in the underground. When you go see Ernest Cadell at his farm to get some milk. So he's a Palamis and the baby's a Sabinian. He doesn't know. You show him empty baby bottles and you're like, could I have some of your milk, right? And he's like, yeah, for sure. But he says, it better not be for a Sabinian bastard, but it is. You don't tell him that, but it is. And that's the horror of what he would help a Palamis baby. But if he knew that it was a Sabinian baby, he would let him die. He would say, no, I'm not giving you milk, and these things also are all over these kind of conflicts. So we wanted to show the whole spectrum, even through good deeds. We want to show that good deeds are good deeds, but that you still meet people that are quite sanely caught in the conflict, even through good deeds. And it's also interesting when we created the good deeds that we wanted to make sure that the rewards didn't come from the people, because what are they going to give you? There was two things. There was the narrative reward that was hard to pull off, and it was the gameplay reward that was also almost impossible. So narrative, these people have nothing left, right? So narratively, they could have given you something that's narratively meaningful. But what I mean by I mean world building wise or war building wise meaningful, in the sense that here's a little bit of coffee, right? During a conflict like that, coffee becomes an extremely valuable resource, right? People, all these types of luxuries, if you want. Could have given you that. It would have been like a narrative thing, but it wouldn't have had any gameplay purpose. And then in terms of gameplay, they couldn't have given anything to the players as a reward that would have helped them, because what you need in the game, limbic shards, limbic weapons, glyphs, all that kind of stuff. These people don't even know that they exist, and they couldn't even have them with them. So that's why you have to go see Brom in the Watcher's Nest, and then he knows that he did a good deed, and then he gives, and that's where you get he's like the merchant, if you want, right? But it was important for us that the good deed themselves, yes, you can go get the reward for sure, but you're still kind of like, once you finish the good deed, these people just thank you with their lives. You know what I mean? We really wanted to make sure that that's what it was. but we're a game, so we still connected it to a mechanical reward later. But the face value of it is still just people thanking you for how much you've just made their lives a bit easier throughout the conflict.
And sometimes visually, I mean, for example, you go to a town or a village and you see how fucked up the place is, and you help these people, and later on you see they're not there anymore. So they're like, oh, you fixed the car for us. So and when the game is not forcing you to do anything, you kind of like, oh, I did that myself. I put these two things together, and those poor kids are not here anymore in this.
They were like saved.
Yeah. And visually, it's like you there, and you go there, and you see the place empty. It's kind of like sad also, because the place is the entire place is so lonely. And I'm like, there was this guy here. I loved it, but he's not anymore.
The window, what you had to do, and then you see the atrocious results of
But
without talking necessarily about that one, it's just interesting what you're saying, that when you do succeed, let's say at a good deed, the person might not be there anymore, but because you created the circumstances with which they could escape their immediate horror, and some end up at Lake Cynan as well, and
and what's really great about it, as I've mentioned, is that it's not shying away. You guys had some great study behind this. It shows, because most of the games and movies you see, I'm like, you don't know anything about war, man. What the fuck are you talking about? Or usually it's like these revenge stories. And the funny thing is, like, the game is all about a revenge story. Oh, my parents were killed, or my best friend is killed. Now I'm going to this revenge story. And suddenly the writer's like, oh, no, it's not about that. It's about how bad it is to seek revenge. But I enjoyed the fuck out of this game, killing people and having fun with it. And the last minute of the game, you're saying, "Oh no, revenge is bad," all that thing you did.
It makes it's hard to connect the two together.
And sometimes you see them. You see things in the game that, like, reality is much more horrible than this. And when you see that, and the game implies that this is hell, it's like, dude. 2 streets down from my place is more horrible than this that you have. So, but I mean, there are little details here that, for example, I went to this village, and there was this woman. I'm horrible with names. I'm not trying to.
It's fine. The names are not easy to remember in the game either.
Yeah, and it's my fault. She's beaten up. And I went to talk to her, and she said, "Oh yeah, they attacked the village, and they kept me alive for the pleasure." I'm like, "Oh, that's horrible." So, and I talked to him, and as I was getting out of the building, I saw this room inside her apartment, and I went there and just take a look around and what's going on, and there are like all condoms around,
and the chain.
Oh my fucking god!
And the military
these guys are not shying away from anything.
No, it's and it's not for everyone. Like, we knew when we created this game that we were, tracing a line in the sand, not just with the themes and the not shying away, also just with the player plattering, just the fact that we're not guiding you at all. We knew that it wasn't necessarily everyone's cup of tea, but Double A is a good space to do these types of things, right? To take these chances and to be a bit more creative and risk taking. But I mean, so in terms of movies, I mean, there are amazing movies about the atrocities and the horrors of war, but they're just not Hollywood movies, like you're saying, right? They're usually not even American movies. But so they are really good ones, but you're right. Most of what people have seen are not necessarily representing of the real the of what happens, and we want to make sure that we did. So, but at the same time, if you notice, like, we don't the player doesn't fight or doesn't hurt any human beings in the game. We wanted to make sure that
most games
what you do is kill kill human for
Yeah.
50 hours, literally. Like you're creating a genocide as you play, right?
Yeah.
You don't hurt one human being in the game, no matter how bad they are, or how bad you might think that they are, depending if you choose a side or not, or whatever. Because we knew that we would show people in such dire situation that we didn't want, on top of that, to add the possibility of fighting them or fighting humans or whatever, right? And also the game has a message, right? That basically these horrors, these atrocities, that barbarism is caused by our emotions and our passions and everything. So the analogy is you're fighting those things. You're fighting humanity's emotions that are causing that. So
yeah,
that's why also you're not fighting the humans themselves. Also notice there's no gore in the game. There's actually one gory scene, if you notice, is when you go under the Patham Abbey, when you do the mission, the investigation for the keystone of ecstasy. When you go under Patham Abbey, you see Captain Voss. It's kind of hard to see because, again, we didn't want to put it in your face, but you can see that when the explosion of the doors happened, he's completely he's maimed, like he's next to a pillar and everything is broken, his legs, like an explosion would do. That's pretty much the only gore in the game. Now, there's bodies everywhere in the game. That is true. The ground is littered with bodies, and we really analyze how dead bodies look like, because usually in video games, when there's a dead body in the ground, we just take an NPC, a regular NPC in the game, and we just put him on the ground and we put blood under him. That's not what dead people look like. That's not what dead bodies look like. There's actually often very little blood. Obviously, there's major carnage, like a bombing or something. Yeah, but that's rarer. Like from actual, it's I know it's a very dark conversation to have, but from conventional, if people get shot or everything, it's there's very little gore, very little blood, and it's the way the bodies are positioned. It's what happens to the clothes. Like clothes are made to stay on living people. Clothes are not made to stay on dead bodies. It's very bizarre. Clothes tend to just the pants are halfway pulled down, and it's not because someone pulled it down. It's just, it seems to happen that way. Shoes, dead bodies, shoes are always all over the place. I don't know why. It is what it is. So we analyzed that quite a bit. I was always very, very careful with the artists. I always say, are you comfortable with doing this? Are you comfortable?
Wow.
Like I'm not going to go as far as saying we had a psychologist. I'm not going to bullshit you, right? We didn't hire a psychologist and stuff like that, like some AAA would tell you. I don't know if it's true or not, but whatever. We didn't. But I was always very careful. If they weren't comfortable with it, they wouldn't do it. It'd be somebody else who's okay with it and stuff like that, right? And I would talk to them regularly about these things. But anyway, so there's no gore. I don't care about the gore, and also gore is not all that present in those situations. It's the scenarios, it's the context, right?
Yeah.
And every one of the ones that we put forth that we did in the game, they all got inspired by real ones that have happened, and we could have gone even way worse than that. There's the stuff that happens in the Civil War, stuff that normal people like me and you do to each other in the Civil War, is batshit insane. We're absolute
creative
barbarians. And I could have nailed people to doors in a village. That I'm not going to name a country or a people. It's not the point. But there's a civil war in the past 50 years that happened, where a whole village. That's what the other side did. They nailed the people to their homes, to this is where you live, and they crucified them to the doors. We could have gone to absolute insanity, and I think we actually held back. Don't get me wrong, there's a few scenarios that are absolutely atrocious, but we could have gone way worse, or we could have had much more if we wanted. So there's quite a few at the beginning. That's true, because we wanted to make a statement right at the beginning of the game, right? Because also some people don't finish games, or they stop playing. But Act 2, there's major moments where these things are not present anymore. You're into what I call the Indiana Jones phase of the game, right? Opening up these old tombs and and the Civil War takes a bit of a backdrop at that point, But you don't always have these things in your face, but yeah, they are, and quite a few, and they some of them are pretty fucking intense. Yeah, we wanted to do that.
Yeah, it's a perfect balance now that you've mentioned it. I mean, I think it's that graveyard where people are just piled up, and there's this guy at the
mass grave.
Yeah. There's a tree up on that. Oh my God, that's one of the most memorable things I remember from that game. And there's this guy saying, "I can't bury these guys without
his
something
wife and
that
his
belongs to them." And it was my mission to just find something so he could move on. And then
it's a real thing, It's a real thing when there's mass graves in a village. The people who manage to escape being part of the execution for the mass graves, if the mass grave is not buried right away or whatever, there's testimonies of people who at night came back to the mass grave to get the bodies of their loved ones. There's testimonies of that.
And then you move to the next location, and it's a beautiful lake. And I was like, just at the opening, I was like, the fuck? What happened? And then, you find a balance.
You need pauses in the game sometimes.
You look at the sea. I mean, like, oh man, this could be life. And what happened? These contrasts actually make things something that you've seen or something that is coming up next more impactful.
Yeah, that was the whole idea of signing. Yeah.
Beautiful. All right. Last thing about hellisus, the score. I'm a music composer for games myself, and the score is 10 out of 10, man. This is awesome. What's the name of the composer? Stéphane Primeau?
Stéphane Primeau, yeah.
Yeah. Amazing. How did he join the project? What was the first conversation?
The thing about our studio, what we're a bit different in most studios is our composer is part of the team. He's the composer for all our games. So in most games, the way that it works is every project, every game, you find a composer for that game, and he's a contractor for that game, right? And then he does other stuff. Stéphane is a team member, just like any modeler or any lead or director or whatever. So and then every game he adapts and everything. But no, Stéphane is an absolute genius. He's very math music. He's very
very analog.
Very, very analog as well. And he's very prog. He's very like the way that he's very prog music. His bands were always prog bands. So it was very interesting finding the style. We had influences, like we've always said it. The music score of Annihilation, Under the Skin, and also Alien, the first Alien. But then you have to turn this into your own thing, and no, he really nailed it. And the audio director, Antoine Vachon, as well, because Stéphane is the composer, but then there's the actual audio director, right? Because there's much more than just the tracks in the game, right? No, they're amazing, and honestly, I was quite present at the beginning just to make sure that we get the right sound, but then I just let them do their things, man, and they absolutely nailed it.
It's beautiful. It's a perfect match between visual and the music. All right, moving on to next segment, my favorite part, Penny for your thoughts, that I call it, where I ask some deep and sometimes silly questions just to get to know my guest better. Are you ready for this? Let's go. All right, first one. If you could redesign one element of real world the way you redesign game worlds, what would it be?
Like in Hellisus?
No. In real world, you could redesign something from the real world.
From the real world. If I could redesign a part of our reality.
Yeah.
Holy crap.
It's a game and you have control over it. What would you do?
Holy shit.
One chance.
Wow. Sorry, I swear. Man, I don't know. Wow. Probably, I mean, it's going to sound very cliche with because of what I've just done with Hell Is Us and stuff like that. But there's a reason why these are the themes of Hell Is Us, like human violence, the cycle of violence, human emotions, and barbarism, because these are things that fascinate me in human nature. It's not in a morbid way. I don't have particularly a curiosity about it. What I have, though, where my curiosity is, it's not about the results. It's about, why do we do this? Why are there people that can literally either get a kick? I guess those would be sociopaths or psychopaths or stuff like that. But why there are so many people that are okay with making perfectly normal, ordinary, just people just living their lives? Why are some people okay with making people's lives miserable or more, just like, for example, like the mafia is a thing, that the concept of the mafia that really intrigues me, really, like that these people live as leeches upon other people, right? That they're okay with making people's normal people's lives miserable just for their own gains. Like this capacity that we have to just to really be extremely mean and vicious towards each other. These it's always been it's always been a thing that's fascinated me, if I could, it's not the right word, but you know what I mean, like, and the, as cliche as it sounds, especially since obviously Hell Is Us is, but that's it. That's why Hell Is Us is in part about that, because these are things that, that's what I would change. I think that's what I would rebuild. That's what I would change. It's a bit like, saying, at a pageant, I want to do world peace, It sounds so stupid, but it's not really that. It's, I guess maybe it would lead to that, but it's more, this capacity that we have to, that some people, that's how they live. They live by just causing trouble for other people and causing pain and misery. And I just don't understand it. You know what I mean? Like, profoundly, not like, I don't understand why you like it. No, of course. Like, just really, like, profoundly, why is it? And of course there's structural problems, of course, that create certain situations for certain people, of course, but I think human nature profoundly has that ingrained in it, and it's fucked up, man. Maybe that's what it would be. It's a boring answer, but maybe.
No, the funny thing is that's my answer, actually. Exactly. You mentioned the word peace. Yeah, everyone wants a word peace, but when they're driving, someone's not. Everyone's crazy.
like behind in cars. Fuck, man.
Yeah.
I used to be.
They want to kill. They want to
to
kill each other, but at the end of the day, they want to achieve world peace. Step by step, we gotta start it, right? Yeah. Next one. Next one. What's the most unusual item you have at home?
Oh wow!
This question could go very wrong,
crap, man. Like I'm not done, Bill, because we just bought a new house and I renovated the basement, but actually to be my office, but it's not. I don't have my shelves yet and everything.
Do you redesign your house like an art director?
No. But you mean in terms of decorating it? I guess I have a bit of an eye, but I haven't built my own house or like that kind of. I wish, but when he's like an architect who did who designed his own house and built it. Wow. But no, not to that degree. My wife is even much better than I am for the house. Wow, the most unusual thing. I don't know, man. That's a great question. I've never really been good on this on the spot like this to really think about these types of things. I don't know, and I don't really have any unusual things. I have a lot of things. But unusual.
Yeah.
Don't know.
It's all right. I once I was talking to the art director of Mad Max Fury Road.
What a great game.
No, the movie. Art director of the movies. Mad Max movie.
Yeah,
that game is fucking underrated. Yeah. Avalanche.
The game
I
is
love the game.
Absolutely underrated and underappreciated. Yeah. But okay, the movie. Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, and I asked her, is your the same question? Like, do you design your house? And looked at around. So no. And later on, she emailed me and said, that was a great question. I never thought I'm going to change the decoration of my, like it's in a movie.
No, yeah. but I did, like, I'm sure, like, tomorrow I'm totally going to think about, like, the craziest thing that I own that's weird. I'm going to, man, that's what I should have answered. That's what I should have answered, you know, as well. It's just on the spot. Like, even things that are extremely close to me. Like, even if you were to ask me, what's your top game that you think should need a sequel or whatever, do I have that game? For sure that I do, but I wouldn't be able to find the answer live. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I understand. Yeah. All right. Moving on to next one. What scares you more, a future dominated by machines or one dominated by human flaws amplified by the machines?
Amplified by the machines, the human flaws. Wow. I mean, I'm a human, right? I want humans to remain. I want humans, be there. So I guess I would. It's hard because I guess I would say the second one. But then if our flaws are amplified by machines, probably quite unlivable. But also the opposite, just by machines, because all this stuff that if the machines, the alignment, if they align or not, these are all real things. Like machines could vary. It is all true that they could really, especially if they're stronger and smarter than us, they could quite quickly figure out that they don't need us or we're in their way or whatever, and just decide that just like when we build a building, we don't care about how many anthills we destroy, right? You know what I mean? Like whenever an AI could easily get there, machines could easily get there. I don't think there's any. I think those two scenarios are probably quite horrible, but just because I do think that humans have something redeemable. And at the end of the day, I'm probably going to go a future with humans with their flaws, made worse by machine. Yeah. Because maybe we can still find an answer. I mean, we can still find a solution to it, maybe because we're still present. Yeah.
Sometimes I think about these questions the way, like, we always answer these questions based on our nature, like, the machines would be like doing this, or if the aliens come down to Earth, would they?
We think through our lenses, of understanding. Yeah,
it would be surprising if they're like aliens coming down, like we
maybe,
want your planet. We say no, we don't want to share it.
The thing
all right,
about
have a great day.
Though, kind of the whole. I don't know if it's quite part of the zeitgeist at the moment. There's so many stuff on YouTube or whatever, but the whole thing about alignment, I think, makes a lot of sense. Like if it becomes conscious and it needs certain things to survive, if you want to say, just for example, just the space, just the actual real estate that AI needs, right? And eventually who stands in the way of that space? Cities and mountains and forests and human beings and this and that. And if it decides very in a calculated way that it needs that space, and especially if it controls manufacturing and it controls, constructions through other, AIs and stuff like that. Like I think these things are quite realistic. I'm not being doomish that this is the way we're in. Yeah. We're the way we've taken, but I'm just saying the theory to me makes absolute sense. Like they could just mathematically realize that we're obsolete for them,
Absolutely, because logically it is true.
Yeah.
And we're a threat to something for a better future.
Yeah. Like, and even like it's not even a threat, like it's just that we're in their way. They need the space, they need the material, they need the resources, and then they realize, well, if we share it, we don't have it. You know what I mean? Again, I know what you said. Like we tend to look at it through our human lenses, but again, when we build something new, right, we don't care about the all the little ants that live there and all the little bugs that have their houses there, or the rabbits or the raccoons or whatever. We just fucking build it there, because we need that real estate. We need those resources that are there, and these things can fuck off, So I think it's quite easy to see how an artificial intelligence who needs its own resources and its own real estate to establish it and to mine it and to process it and whatever could eventually say these people don't have any purpose for us,
Yeah. Great. Let's move on to the next one. What's this single piece of art that always inspires you?
Reading. I mean, there's not one in particular, but I mean, I read, I read, I have thousands and thousands of books. Like my library is one of my most cherished things. Whenever I move, whenever I buy a new house or whatever, which I hope I'm not going to do now for a while, with the kids and everything. We used to sell and buy new houses for regularly. But every time I have to like rebuild all my shelves and we're in my office and put all my books but like right now they're still in boxes and everything. But it's such a pain when we move because I have and that's what movers hate to move is books because it's the heaviest boxes, and I have like hundreds of those boxes when we move. Anyway, point is, it's really reading. And is there a specific work? I don't know. I just, I don't have anything specifically that inspires me. What inspires me is when I kind of know what I want to achieve, and then you start pulling at threads. You know what I mean? And again, it's all about connecting the dots, right? Then you pull, and then the next day you pull another thread, and then you read that book, and then and then in that book it talks about another book, and then there's a movie about you watch the movie, and then it's really my biggest inspiration is always just jumping headfirst in the pool of material about what I want to get to. There's not one like, if I always look at that painting or that book specific or that movie. No, it's just you get inspired by just jumping in the matter, in the subject matter, and just really drowning in it. I get obsessive, literally, and then sometimes it's weeks, sometimes it's months. I just emerge back, and it's like, yes, yeah.
Beautiful answer. Yeah. All right. Next one. Your top 5 favorite films of all time.
Not in any order. I don't have any order, but all right. Stalker, Come and See.
Yeah.
Bleak.
These two are perfect companions to Hellisus, by the way.
Yes, like when I saw Come and See, I don't know, I was young when I saw Come and See, man.
Wow.
Too young. No, I wasn't like 8, you know what I mean? But like I saw it Come and See like in the late 90s, like a bootleg, not a bootleg, but it was like a VHS copy of a VHS copy of a VHS copy, and it was in Russian. There wasn't any subtitles, but you don't need to, I mean, it's better if you can understand what they're saying, but what's going on in Hell and See, you totally know what's going on. But I think it was like in 98 when I first saw it, something like that. Akira, there's my life before Akira and there's my life after Akira. Wow. It's just because again, I saw it. We were in Quebec because we're it's francophone. Our first language is French. We're very connected with France, and they all the anime and manga thing. Because of long story short, they would do a lot of kids show with Japanese studios in the 80s, and we had these shows, so we were a lot closer to that. Like we knew about anime and manga here way before most of the rest of the world, way before the United States and things like that. And I first saw Akira again. A copy of a copy of a copy of a copy. I think it was in 90. I was in high school, so I think it was like in 91 or 92, something like that. So back then, the top animations were Disney. And I'm always going to remember at the beginning when Tetsuro falls off his bike. And then we know when they start chasing the clowns, right? And he falls off his bike as he comes out of the alley. And then he picks it up. And you feel the weight of it. And I was like, that's when I knew I was watching something that I had never seen, that you know, the type of stuff that Disney doesn't do. And like I said, there's my life before Akira. That's literally how I say it. There's my life after Akira.
Wow.
After that, you know, we all have this is gonna sound really weird. We all have like movies that are not known. We all have. I do, that are not known to be particularly good movies, but for some reason, they kind of made us understand certain things about the craft. And it's King Arthur with it's a movie from like 2000.
Who is the director of that? 2003, I guess it came out back then.
What's his name? The main actor. He plays in Children of Men. He's the main actor. What's his name again?
I'm bleaked out. I know Children of Men.
He's the main actor of Children of Men. He plays. Anyway, it's because basically what's cool about that movie. It's not a good movie, but it's really like the Arthurian legends. If it really would have happened, so it's back when the Romans were still ruling Britannia, but they're about to leave, and he's part of the Roman. He's a Roman, not slaves, but he's anyway. There's a thing about that movie that made, because there's a real simplicity to its story, but the beats are good. The way it's built, the way the quest, if you want, is, and it made me understand a lot of things about structure, about how to structure a story in a way, and not necessarily that the story is well structured. Or that, I don't know. This movie just had a thing on me. You know what I mean? Like, it's not a good movie, but it's just my brain connected dots somehow when I saw it. And then one last. Maybe Underground as well. You know, the
Underground series with Kate Beckinsale?
No. The
it was Underworld.
The Yugoslav movie. Again, it's about.
I haven't watched it.
Yeah, but
no, this one
it's another war thing. Wow. It's an amazing, again, just like the Yugos can do it. It's that weird dark humor. You know what I mean? Like, there's a thing about Eastern European, kind of really dark theme movies, but yet they're comedies in a way with amazing characters and I could go, Blade Runner and all these things, but no, I think these 5 movies are really
You're more into war movies. These
again,
the movies you've mentioned are very close to the Hell Is Us word.
Hell Is Us is a game that I could have done at any time in my career. Wow. You know what I mean? It's not like I said, these are themes that have always been with me throughout my life. These are things that I obsess about: the cruelty of people, the barbarism, and the cycle of violence. But with Rogue Factor, it was just the right moment. The planets were aligned to finally do a game about these ideas, But these are kind of like the dark baggage that I've always been interested into since forever.
Wow.
Because these movies are fairly heavy, definitely.
All right, your top 5 favorite games.
Again, in no particular order though. So Star Control 2, Bionic Commando, the original one. Original Metroid. As cliche as it sounds, Jesus, Resident Evil 4 on the GameCube when it first came out. Ultima Underworld, the first Ultima Underworld. So again, these are old, PC games, Amiga games from the 90s. People can go look them up, but absolute masterpieces. And a fifth one, let's say if I go a bit more modern, even though it looks old school, but it's a modern game. It's called Caves of Cud. Check it out. Go check it out on Steam. Made by an absolute bunch of geniuses. So it's a roguelite, depending on how you set it up. The original, it's one of these games that they've been developing it for like 11 years type stuff. Now the real game is out, but it's been in early access for so long. It's like this ginormous open world. But these guys are genius. The writing is absolutely out of this world. The world building is I think might just be the best world building ever created in any medium. Stuff for everyone. It's very complex, very detailed. Graphically, it's like a modern version of ASCII art. So it's hardcore. It's definitely hardcore. But if you give it the time to get to know what it is, and you get it, it's one of the most unique experiences you'll ever have.
Wow, gonna check it out. Awesome. All right, next one. If you were making games, what completely different career would you be doing right now?
Well, like I said, I started as a commercial illustrator. So it was, art was my thing. It's always been my thing. But let's say if it's not about any of these things, it would probably be like a like a forest firefighter or some shit like that, like the kind of like in the woods, really like hardcore work. It's really I know people that's what they do, and it would probably be like something completely opposite. Like I just like to be thrown in the middle of a very kind of difficult physical situation, and having to figure it out and build stuff, and so maybe something like that.
This is crazy that you've mentioned this, because during last week I was telling my friends and all about the fact that I'm really considering going on an oil rig, work like some months on an oil rig, and come back away from all this shit and just hard work. There's this amazing book by one of my favorite writers, Paul Auster's, about it's about his time when he was a writer. He went to a ship, and for like a year he lived on a ship as a chef. One of the best writers is working on this ship, and he came back, and I was just reading that. I was like, "Oh man, that's a great experience. This is gonna change you, the way you look at the world." And I don't know, something about hard work in a distant place is some appealing.
I think there's a thing about modern life that we're missing that aspect. Especially men, and whoever's offended by that comment, that's their own problem, not mine.
Because physically we're at ease in this modern world, but mentally it's hard. But when you go like an oil rig, mentally you have nothing, just the fucking work.
It's that
you're
weird,
focused on
that weird inverted thing. Of course there's all these. Of course there's so much more mental stuff nowadays, and because we're it's just what we've created. I'm not sure that's what humans truly need, the modern world that we've created. And I'm as guilty as anyone else. I fucking do video games for a living, and it's definitely not something that people need. People need entertainment, but I totally get your oil rig thing. Or one of those fishing boats in Antarctica.
That's great.
Not Antarctica, but the North Pole. I mean, and that
All right.
type of stuff.
Last question. Tell me something exciting about your future works.
So I'm definitely excited about this. That no matter what it is, right? Can't say what it is, but like we've already started working on it. What we did with Rogue Factor. So Rogue Factor existed before I came in, right? Like the Yves Bordelot, the general manager, is a great friend. Is a great personal friend of mine. Like he's, not just that I knew him in the industry. It's just he's a real friend of mine outside of the industry. And when I came in, we said, okay, let's, now we call it Rogue Factor 2.0, right? We kind of gave a new vocation to the studio, because before they were mostly doing franchise games for Games Workshop, right? The Games Workshop brand, the Warhammer stuff. And now we said, let's just do our own IPs, and let's create a vibe. Let's create a taste to our games. And no matter what the next game is or our next games, it's gonna if you've enjoyed Hellisus, no matter what we do next, you're gonna enjoy it, and it's gonna be everything that all the new stuff that we've tried and experimented with and put in the game. Now we really know how to make them. You know what I mean? And they're gonna be so. Or the next perfect one is the next one we're doing. Do you understand what I mean? Like we're just in control of our things now, and I
am so excited about this. All right, dude, this is one of my longest episodes ever. I think it could be the longest. I don't know.
Longest podcast,
Yeah. It shows how much I respect you, and I love talking to you. And
I cannot give short answers. I'm incapable of it. I'm sorry.
You're the best, man. I'm so privileged to have this podcast. I get to talk to brilliant people who inspire me and learn so much from them.
I will admit I wasn't. I didn't know of your podcast before you contacted me, but then I looked it up. Man, you've had some serious people, buddy. Congrats.
Awesome. Thank you.
Congrats, man.
But once in a while, stars align and I get to talk to people I truly admire, people with a unique and important vision. You're one of the finest artists our generation. So that's
insane. You woke up one day, you decided to try to talk to those people, and that's insane. A little like crazy.
Yeah, it's I don't make money out of this, and it's just my passion project.
Wow.
But it really, really, really changed me as a human. Every conversation is something different, and I try to go to other countries that even people tell me not to go. I mean, some months ago, I went to Russia and alone, and I was like sick, but went there and talked to people. How people are like that there.
When did you go? Did you go like in the past few years?
4 months ago.
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. And I went to Russia before the war, and I went this time after the war, and the things you learn is insane, man. The stories, the things that happened to me, crazy. You learn so much about humanity, and that is why I said the games like Hellisus is unique, because other people's game, you haven't seen shit. You've been always in your office checking out the TV, but this is something unique. So
thanks, man.
I really want to thank you for your imagining rich words.
Thank you.
That both entertain and educate us. And I love you, man. I thank you so much, and thank you for your time.
Well, thanks for the invitation. Thanks for your time. And if you ever come to Montreal, give me a poke, and we'll meet up for sure.